At 16, Brittany Franklin entered a pageant, not knowing it would lead her to a hospital room, a child with cancer, and a promise that would change her life. That promise became Sky High for Kids, a mission to bring hope to families in their darkest moments. It's been a lifeline for people like Chip Proby and his daughter Dylan. She was diagnosed with cancer at 9. Today, she's cancer-free, heading to college to become a nurse and give back just like Sky High did for her. Brittany and Chip join us with how we can all do one little thing that can make a really big difference. Good morning.
Good morning, Deborah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's go to how you got here. You were born and raised in Louisiana, good Catholic girl from Louisiana.
Yes, on a rice and crawfish farm, showed lambs in 4-H, and Mom said, let's do something different. You're going to be in the Cattle Festival pageant.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Yeah, any small town across the South, you got to be in the pageant, right?
Yes.
You were crowned hometown festival queen, and then you entered the Miss
Acadiana. Yeah, girl, Acadiana.
Not Acadia, but Miss Acadiana pageant in Kaplan, Louisiana. You're the first runner-up, and then the person who won had to step down.
She did. She forfeited her crown, and I was crowned in the living room of Miss Billy Menard's house, who was the festival manager, right? Literally in the living room.
I can see it right now. It's like, hi, Brittany. Listen, that other gal that had won, she's not good. We have to replace her, and you were the first runner-up. Come on down.
That's literally what happened, and I remember being like, "Yay!"
I'll be home at 4.
So exciting, and well, that day changed the entire direction of my life.
You know, because with pageants, there are people who can be critics of them, but there are so many wonderful things that happen, and one of them is, for most pageants, they say, give us a cause, give us a platform. And I oftentimes say, you might not choose a mission, but a mission will choose you. The mission chose you.
Mission chose me, God chose me. My vocation in life was shown at a very young age, and when we were able to raise money together, we were sent to Memphis, Tennessee, to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and that's when my world changed.
Yeah.
I didn't know cancer existed, Deborah.
Especially for kids,
for
right?
children. Yeah. You know, you walked into the Ronald McDonald House, we put on a Mardi Gras parade, we cooked a huge gumbo in Louisiana style to feed all 53 families staying in that house while receiving treatment at St. Jude, and I remember leaving there saying, what is going on? This is not fair. Yeah. How are children of all ages in wheelchairs and feeding tubes and no hair, and you know, that's the visual I vividly remember.
Yeah. And you can hear numbers. They'll say X thousands of children, or 1 out of 5, but when you connect with the child and you see it, it's heartbreaking, and you see those parents. You met Dalton, an 8-year-old battling cancer, and you immediately formed a connection.
We did. We sat on the back patio of the Ronald McDonald House. He hadn't eaten in probably 2 good weeks. You know, chemotherapy makes these kids really, really sick, and I talked him into eating a bowl of gumbo with me, and I'll never forget the moment his parents looked at me and just cried tears of joy because he ate the entire bowl of gumbo.
The little things, right?
The little things.
All right, so that was kind of the beginning of the percolating of Sky High for Kids. You went off to college, and you could have worked, you know, your corporate job, but you again go back to that calling.
Yes, I intended to go to law school. I was getting ready to take the LSAT, working at Edie's restaurant, and Miss Billy Menard found me again at the restaurant and said, Britt, we have a project. We're aiming to raise $10,000 to support St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, buy basketball goals for the Ronald McDonald House, and we need your help. And I remember I was studying for the LSAT. I worked 2 jobs in college. And
I can barely help myself.
No,
right?
Literally, yeah. Right? And so that led to hosting a sporting clay tournament, of all things. I shot avidly as a kid growing up and shot clays on Fridays with a bunch of customers from Edie's, and I thought, wow, what if we put together teams of 4? We charged $500 a team. I did the math, put a budget together on the steps of the UL library, and before we knew it, we had 300 participants. 6 girls in college raised $50,000, and we were headed back to Memphis, Tennessee to drop off that check.
Yeah, and today you operate nationwide. You provide comfort, funds for research, you save lives, benefits kids, you know, are fighting cancer and other critical illnesses. All right, Chip, was childhood cancer anywhere on your radar before Dylan?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, it was a complete shock to us.
And it's one of those things that's sneaky, right? Because in the beginning, what was happening with Dylan?
So 6 to 9 months before treatment, she was having pain in her right foot. And the initial x-rays that we went into the orthopedic showed nothing. And so they chalked it up to growing pains. She was a taller girl for her age at the time and played sports. And so the pain would come and go and come and go. And the fall of 2016, it started to swell and it started to hurt more. And my wife finally said, we're going back. And
Which I'm going to pause you right there. There's a lesson in that. Like we always tell people, if you don't feel like something's right, keep going until you get the right diagnosis. And as parents, you're like, okay, this is not right.
Yeah,
we can't dismiss it as growing pains anymore.
Yes, thank God my wife did that. And we went back in and see the orthopedic again. And when he came back and said, there's an abnormal mass in your daughter's heel bone, and you got to get to MD Anderson right away.
Yeah, and so when you hear abnormal mass, it still doesn't pretty much mean anything.
Oh yeah,
we're
right.
Okay, well, yeah.
You have the wrong room,
Yeah.
Doc. She plays soccer. We have a foot problem. This is MD Anderson. We
Deals
were
with
in
cancer.
shock.
Yeah.
We were in shock.
Right.
And within 3 weeks, we were biopsy, surgery, checked into Texas Children's, and first round of chemo was beginning at that point in time.
And it is so hard to watch your child go through something, but every time I've dealt with, I spit out the story quickly, but when I was going through my brain aneurysm that burst, I got a big package from the Children's Hospital in Dallas at the time, and the kids were saying, we're praying for you, and you make us laugh when we see you on TV, and thank you for making us laugh. But my lesson from that was, those kids were fighting for their lives, but took the time to see that this TV girl was okay. And just like with children who are going through that fight, they want to make sure their parents are okay, that their friends are okay. And she doesn't regret any of what happened.
I think, Dylan, you're referring
Yeah,
to?
Dylan,
yes. No, I think it changed her in a lot of good ways. I mean, she went through treatment. It was absolutely miserable. And she did some research when she went through treatment and learned that the government funding for cancer research, only less than 4% goes to children. And that made her quite ticked off at the time, and she made a goal when she finished treatment that she was going to raise money, however she was going to do it. She was going to raise money for pediatric cancer research.
Yeah, she reached forward to help other kids. Yep. She had, went through the chemo, which is brutal, and then an amputation, correct?
She did lose her right leg, but as once she got comfortable with the prosthetic and got the physical therapy she needed, she excelled. I mean, she played high school volleyball, has no issues whatsoever with that anymore.
And is heading off to college at the University of Texas Texas A&M.
Easy now.
Easy now. All right, so how did you two meet?
So late in Dylan's treatment, her and I were up on the oncology floor at Texas Children's, and there was, we were waiting for an appointment. You're there pretty much perpetually during treatment, but there was activities going on over on one side of the floor, and it was Brittany and her team who were doing a photo shoot for a lot of the patients that were in there. And they invited me and Dylan to come over, and Dylan took part in the photo shoot, and then Brittany spent 5-10 minutes with us, and it was just the most amazing 5-10 minutes that we could have had to give Dylan some purpose. That's who I'm going to raise money for.
Yeah.
This organization is doing the right things. That's who I want to raise money for.
Like minds.
Yes.
All right, Brittany, tell us about Sunday Supper, because there's different avenues and ways that you can raise money. If somebody wanted to donate and just write a check, cash is king, as we know.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it, right? But Sunday Supper.
Yes, so we started the Sunday Supper program, as Chip noted, that families are in and out of the hospital daily. So outpatient clinic has roughly 150 kids a day today that will drive up, pay $15 to park that car and start treatment. And you're in there all day. So where is access to food, right? The patient receives a meal.
Good food, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you don't want to keep eating cafeteria food over and over. But parents and siblings do not have access to food unless you DoorDash or Uber Eats. Now, get this. 70 children are inpatient just at main campus every single day in those 4 walls, and upwards of 60, 90, 100 days at a time, Deborah. That is a long time to be in those 4 small walls. Well, again, parents don't have access to food unless you pay for it. Siblings come to visit, or another parent on the weekends, and everyone's DoorDashing or Uber Eats, and you cannot afford that. So what happens is, which we're very grateful for, everyone who donates snacks, ramen, macaroni, Cliff Bars, that's what parents and siblings are having to eat as a full-blown meal. And on Easter Sunday last year, I was driving back and I thought, wow, if you really think about our South Louisiana culture, we cooked a gumbo at the very first time we went into Ron McDonald House. Food is such an essential part of my life and who we are. why are families not able to sit around the table today and eat a hot home-cooked meal?
So you've got restaurants involved.
So we got restaurants involved. Truth Barbecue kicked us off, and we need more restaurants in Houston to help us. We deliver 170 prepackaged individual meals every single Sunday night at main campus, and we need help from our community.
And with over 10,000 restaurants in this town, if you know, each one could just take on a stretch, a week or a day
52
or whatever.
Sundays a year. We just need 52 restaurants to join our mission.
And I'll tell you, Deborah, that when I heard that they were doing this program, because going through cancer treatment, there's nothing normal about it.
No.
I mean, Dylan was 9 at the time, and we're not going to leave her overnight in the hospital by herself. So one parent is there, but we have Erin, our younger daughter, who's 6 years old, who has soccer, Girl Scouts, school, and so we're constantly flip-flopping.
I remember that. My son was 10, and he was in the hospital, and it was like we literally did 12 hours on, 12 hours off. It was his dad was in there 12 hours, I was in there 12 hours, and you start to realize how vulnerable you are, because you got to also get to work, right?
But how much more normal is a family dinner?
Yeah.
Right? And if someone does that for you, that we don't have to think about planning that, but it's just planned on a Sunday in the hospital. Yes, it's in the hospital, but if that whole thing is provided and we're all together, it brings some kind of normalcy to a world that's just very, very chaotic.
Like I mentioned earlier, it also says that there are strangers out there who got your back, who care about you.
Yes.
They care.
And you never know, the help that you're giving somebody today might be the help you need tomorrow.
Right.
It comes full circle. Thank you so much. I've heard about you forever from Yuval Meikler, one of our mutual friends.
Yes.
And so thank you. Thank you for what you did. Thank you for
Deborah.
sharing your story with us, because your parent is going through it right now. And it's nice to know that, again, the community has you. For more information on Sky High for Kids, visit skyhighforkids.org. If you own a restaurant and you can sponsor one of those meals for a Sunday, please, please, please come through. And there's other ways to help as well, as we mentioned, monetary donations and other events that they have throughout the year.